Hey mama, have you ever thought about getting involved in politics? I know it can seem incredibly overwhelming. That word alone can hold such a stigma, politics. But it is actually really important. As moms, we have a unique opportunity to advocate for our families. You do not need to be a political insider or have all of the answers either to make a difference. Trust me, I was a health coach. I had just become an official bio mom, and I'd been a hit or miss voter my entire adult life. But I saw a gap where I needed to dive in. I felt it in my soul. And today I want to share with you why you also should join in and how you can do it. And I will even break down some of the top reasons why a lot of moms are hesitant to do so. So, what do you say? Lend me your ear for the next little bit. Just hear me out. At least think to yourself, hey, my kids at least deserve that I take a little bit of time and hear this information. All right, let's dive right in. Hi, I'm Jenna Dicks, and I'm always rambling. Just ask my husband. I have a great family and a pretty cool life, but I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's hard to say, but my goal is to inspire and educate to help others hopefully find life beyond an addiction. I'm all things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Getting healthy, momming, and politics. Get offended easily? You better stop listening. There is no point in wasting that Botox by stressing yourself out listening to a podcast. Welcome to Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dicks. Today's episode is brought to you by products and services that I am thoroughly addicted to. Figuring out your marketing strategy as a small business owner can be overwhelming, and doing it yourself can make you feel like you're going to pull your hair out. But fear not, because the How Marketing Company has got you covered. Don't settle for just any marketing team. Trust the experts at the How Marketing Company to ensure your success and to help you keep your hair intact. Check the show notes for more details and to take the first steps towards stress-free marketing. All right, welcome to today's episode. I am super excited to have you here. This is a topic that has really been taking up a huge portion of my brain space, of my heart space, of my focus, of my energy. Let's just be blunt with it, right? Politics is something that, as of recent, these last couple years, this is like my current addiction. It truly is. It takes so much of my focus, for the most part, in really good ways. I will be transparent and say there's been moments that I'm like, Jenna, rein it in. Get that addiction under control a little bit because your family is starting to take the hits or your personal self-care is taking the hits. But I think just like everything else in life, everything ebbs and flows. I think those of you listening, you can completely understand. Maybe there's been things that you've really dove into and you're like, holy crap, rein it back or pull it in, right? Like you think like the CrossFitters, right? No hate on those CrossFitters out there. I've never done it. I give some of those people mad props, but it truly becomes their identity. And I think sometimes we just need to remember, find some balance. So with politics, that's definitely been one of my focuses. Like, holy crap, find some balance, right? But today, I definitely do want to dive into this topic because as somebody who's been in the political space now for a couple years, but also now in a position, in a space where I want to get other moms involved. Because not only do I feel that a lot of times the moms' voices are the ones that are incredibly powerful, they're also the ones that are not heard as much as they should be. So I'll be very transparent. Today I have some notes that I want to go over as well. I have notes next to me just to kind of keep myself on track, because this is a topic that, being addicted, I can really go a million ways. I can go a million different tangents. So you might catch me like going back to my notes and being like, oh, let me find my spot a little bit. Like, let's get back on track because I got to rein myself in. So we're going to jump right in. As I promised, today we're going to talk a little bit about the why, the how, and I'm even going to break down some of those top reasons or excuses that a lot of moms have, and what we the self-talk we've told ourselves as females of, politics really just isn't my thing. Okay? So, snidbit about my political dive-in. I have been involved in politics for about 3 years at this point, a little shy of 3 years. But as I said in the intro, right, I was a hit or miss voter for the majority of my adult life. There were a few presidentials I went and voted in. There were some random state things that I was like, oh, this is important to me, that I'd go vote in. But it wasn't all the time, because politics didn't really fall on my radar of super top priorities. But that changed, when I became a biological mom to Mac, and I seriously do think something changes in your body. But in addition to that, when a lot of shit was hitting the fan, and it was being, in my mind, tied back to political decisions, and it was impacting Haley, my other daughter too, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do something. It's in my bones that God gifted me this family. I have to do what I can do to help. That's just a little snidbit. Currently, right now, I went from being involved in multiple campaigns last election season. I currently am a vice president of one of the Minnesota Federations of Republican Women chapters. So it's a virtual club, essentially, all women, and we meet once a month, and I'm the vice president of that little group. And it's not actually very little anymore. It's growing pretty rapidly, which is really exciting. In addition to that, I am the secretary of the Minnesota GOP. So, like I said, I grew addicted pretty dang fast. That's my personality. But that's not where I started. I started not caring, right? This was my dad's job. Why would I care? Now, if you really want the ins and outs and the backstory of my journey, go back to episode 5. I give all those ins and outs. But today, this isn't about me. I don't want to spend any more time wasted on that. Today is about you. The normal mom. The mom that you want the absolute freaking best for your family. And their future family. And their future family. And so on, and so on, and so on. Right? That's in your gut as a mama. At least it is in mine. And I think, I'm not even afraid to say it, I'm pretty positive, a lot of moms are looking around the world right now and they're thinking, what the fuck is going on? Right? Like, when did that happen? When was that okay? Why are we doing this? Holy moly, why are my kids seeing this? Why are they exposed to that? Right? All the time. Typically, if there's not at least one moment a day lately where like my jaw hits the ground, I'm like, oh, it was a good day, right? That being said, like I said, lend me your ear. Hear me out. Let's dive right in. So, as I promised, the why. I think first and foremost, this is in my core, and maybe as a mom you don't 100% agree, but at least in my core, as a mom, it's my job, per God, to take care of my family, right? He could have chose any other mom. He chose me and said, I want Jenna to be the mom of Mac and to be the stepmom of Haley. He made that decision. I want to honor that, right? First and foremost, they are his, and I want to make sure I'm doing my part to help. But let's dive into some additional whys. Okay, so getting involved, being updated on current events and current happenings, you have potential of influencing policies. So when you engage in politics, as a mom, you can influence the policies that are going to affect your kids today and in the future. This can, be policies that are about education or about their health care, their environment, or, any other issues for the most part that are important to you. You do have potential to influence the policies and, truth be told, make it blunt, the laws that are going to impact them. The second thing, or the third thing rather, because the first and most important, right, we're honoring God. The third thing is you have the ability to better protect your kids' rights when you are involved and aware of what's going on. If you are informed and engaged, it gives you more wiggle room and understanding to really be able to protect your kids' rights and ensure that they have access to the things that they're going to need to thrive in their lives. Because I can bet every mom that's listening right now is like, I want nothing else. I want my kids to thrive and have good lives. Well, we need to make sure we're protecting their rights then and giving them this pathway to thrive. The next piece, the next why. You have the ability to help shape the future if you are involved. As a mom, you can help shape the future by being active in the process. Participating in elections. So it's the simple task of voting, which I was transparent. I didn't always used to vote. But that is a big piece, right? I know sometimes it can, that lethargic energy of, does it really matter? Yeah, it fucking matters. We need to make sure we are utilizing our vote. It is something that every one of us has the ability to do. So make sure you're participating by voting in elections. And then if there's policies or upcoming laws or bills that are out there and you are really, really opinionated on it, or you're like, hey, wait a minute, I need to learn more about that because I think that might impact my family. Step one is, yes, get educated on it. And two, make sure then that you're advocating for your belief around that. So for example, I know one that's really gotten a lot of mama bears and papa bears and religious people, kind of out of their seats as of recent, this last couple weeks, is a new proposal talking about if colleges have a faith statement requirement, that they will no longer be able to participate in PSEO programs. A lot of people kind of woke up on that one and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. And they got up and they started advocating for that policy, right? The next one is staying ahead of the game. If you are informed and you know what's coming down the pipeline, you know what's going on with the current happenings in the world, you can make better decisions for your family. And you can be prepared not only for what's right around the corner, but you can also be better prepared for, what's a couple miles down the pipeline. And as a mom, I think that's freaking important. There's some people that you bring things up and they're completely clueless and they're like, wait a minute, what? That's happening? I remember a conversation last year and granted, the war over in Ukraine, right? That's over there. It's not really happening on our ground. But at the same time, if you've been paying attention, it's impacted America for sure. I remember talking to somebody and the war broke out officially 3 or 4 days later. And this person had no clue. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What? There's a war about to break out. It's kind of a big deal. So we as moms need to make sure we know what's coming down the pipeline, not only for ourselves, but for our families as well. And then the last why that I have is to be a solid role model. And I've talked about this a lot. I've talked about this in regards to health and wellness as well. But I truthfully do believe that moms and dads are the number one example kids are looking to. for everything. And we can say, do as I say, not as I do, as much as we freaking want. It doesn't matter. You want to make sure, if you want your kids to be educated and you want your kids to be in the know and you want your kids to be able to stand up for themselves, you do it first. So as a mom, being engaged in politics, you can set a positive example for your kids, teaching them the importance that, hey, being informed and involved is a piece that's really actually empowering because you get to help shape your future. And my dear, as a mama, we get to help shape their future too. All right, so talked a little bit about the why. Let's dive into, all right, the how. Okay, Jenna, you said it's important. I hear you, 100% agree. What the heck can I do? Right? All right, let's dive in. Number one, and this is basic, and this goes right along with a lot of those whys, but the basic first functional step you got to do is get informed. You need to stay up to date on current events and, the different issues that are going on, especially the ones that are going to more likely impact you and your kids. Make sure as much as possible, follow reliable sources and educate yourself from different perspectives. So I will be transparent and say this is not the easiest step. I think for the most part, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. If you're listening to my show, you probably are in agreement with, there's a lot of media out there that you're like, can I really believe that? Right? Follow several sources then. That way you can kind of check yourself and go around. And then as much as possible, go directly to the source. So, for example, I remember sending an article about a bill from a news source to my mom. And she was like, but how do I know this is factual? And I went to the Minnesota legislator page, so a government page, snapshotted the bill and sent it to her. I said, because it's for real. I said, here's the actual bill itself. Read this, and it supports the article. So make sure, and I get this is kind of a pain in the ass. And Jenna, we're freaking busy. I get that. Check a couple news sources. Try to find ones that do give, more neutral responses and thoughts as much as possible. An app that I downloaded at one point, it's called All Sides. And it shows you different articles from different news sources. And it shows you one that's more left-leaning, it shows you one that's more right-leaning, and it shows you one that's more neutral, just straight facts. I've noticed some days that I'm like, it's leaning a little this way or that way. But for the most part, you're able to see several perspectives all on one topic. So that has been one of my favorite apps for something, especially the things that are like more controversial. So that might be an app that you like as well. So step one, like I said, getting informed. Step two, joining a community. And I've talked about this in several regards throughout my episodes, right? It's important to have your tribe. With politics, it does help to have like-minded people in your community who share the concerns that actually get your heart thumping. Joining these different groups and attending their events and participating in conversations with them can be not only really refreshing, it can bring peace, which sounds ironic, but it does, but you're also building a community that's going to help you get through these times. The next how is start attending local meetings, whether it's like a town hall or a city council meeting, but attending those local meetings to hear, not only from your elected officials, but this also gives you a spot where you can start to voice your concerns if and when you want to and if and when appropriate. But it's just a great way to start getting involved very locally. It's a good first small step for those of you that are like, I know I need to do something. Another one that would fit this category would be like school board. If the schools are really taking you off, start going to your school board meetings. I do encourage for any of these events that you're like, I'm going to start to go, check out the rules. They all do check their website beforehand or, email somebody at the location if need be. But I know, especially school boards, they've implemented a lot of different rules and protocols that you have to follow as of recent. So it's important to not only if you attend these things, but attend them as respectfully as you absolutely can. Hold yourself to a higher standard because you are a mom and you want to show your kids that solid, good example. But at the same time, get engaged to show that example also. You can do it in a classy way though. The next how you can start to really get in there is start to volunteer. And a lot of ears just shut off, right? Oh, volunteer. I have enough on my plate. I hear you. I freaking hear you. I remember people talking about, I'm doing this community service project, and I'm doing this volunteer, and I'd be like, waste of time. The idea of, time is money, or the idea of I have better things to do. I hear ya. I completely do. But you know what? Volunteering so that my kids have a better future, that's worth my time. Absolutely. So volunteering for different campaigns is always an option, or organizations that really align with your viewpoints and with your values. Maybe you are somebody that's like all on board with pro-life. Find a local group that you can start to volunteer with. Or I know there's a lot of groups that support school board people. I know there's a lot of groups that support, young kids and their beliefs. Find an organization that has those values and jump in. Say, hey, how can I help? In addition, this is a great way to meet people. And you can add them to that tribe that you're building, right? It also is a great way to start learning more about what's going on. So volunteering helps build your tribe and it helps you stay more current with the issues. So you're kind of doing a couple of these hows, all with volunteering. The next one is contacting your elected officials. So reaching out to your elected officials to share your thoughts, to share your concerns. If you see a bill is up and coming in the legislature, you can always reach out and share your opinions. Because it is important as a constituent or somebody in their area that they are representing, that they hear from you, that they know what your thoughts are, so that they truly can begin to represent what their people that they're representing really think and feel. You can do this through email, you can call them, you can reach out to them on their social media platforms. Some of them hold town halls or office hours. I had never done this until recently, and there was a few bills that were up and coming, and I'm like, oh, heck no. My thoughts will be shared because I want to make sure that I'm doing my part. So it isn't that difficult either, You quick type something up or you quick leave a call. A lot of times it is a voicemail. But yeah, sharing your thought is one simple way of how to get involved. And you're still making sure that you're doing your part. The next piece is to educate your kids. You're learning a lot, right? If you're following these steps, you're learning a lot. Teach your kids. You're already showing them with your example, which is an awesome first step, but explain the whys behind it so that they have a real understanding of what's going on. At the same time, don't be afraid to have them get involved with you. My girls, they come to a lot of stuff. The young one, because she's young and she can't be home alone. She's got to come with mom and dad. And, typically we do find sitters, but there are events that McKenna comes with. And, she's gotten to the point where she meets people and she shakes their hands and she chit-chats and it's just fun. But at the same time, I'm showing her a solid example starting at a young age. The older one, she comes to, I would say half the events, maybe a little shy of half the events. But by choice, we have never once forced Haley to come. She either A, asks, or B, we offer and she's like, oh yeah, I want to go to that. There's been a few that she's like, can I just stay home? Yeah, absolutely. She's big enough, right? But educate your kids on, how to get involved. And in addition, make sure they're educated on current events also at an age appropriate level. I will caveat that 100%. I think sometimes people, they think that I'm kind of over the top with my politics, which, okay, fair. I'm sure, I already admitted in this episode, I'm pretty much addicted at this point. But I make sure when we're talking to the kids, and Mike makes sure as well, that it's age appropriate. The next how. Host a community event. Organize a community event that's focused on either current events that are happening or political issues that are important to you. This can be a panel discussion, a town hall meeting, a community forum, maybe just an event that you throw in your yard in the summertime to talk and bring awareness to a topic that you are really, really passionate about. Do a meet and greet with candidates. If you are really supporting and backing a candidate, hold a meet and greet for them. Get them out there. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors why you believe in that person or why you believe in that issue. And the next one, make sure you're heading to local events. If there are ones that you're passionate about or things that you're really wanting to get involved in, one of the most basic things that I've said this a million times over again, find your local political group and start attending. In the GOP world, that's our BPOUs. I will link down in the show notes a video of how to find your local BPOU. But start to find those local BPOUs so you can start to plug in. That way you're building your tribe, you get updated on current happenings, and you get to engage. Another one that kind of fits that same niche is heading to your local affiliates groups. In Minnesota here, I know we have 12 affiliate groups, but affiliate groups are groups that are politically focused, but they're geared towards certain demographics to kind of build your tribe with people that you can relate to. And your mission is to focus on political changes and political happenings and to kind of build that tribe with people very much like you. So in Minnesota, we have ones that are about, we have the senior citizens one. We have the veterans ones. We have, like I said earlier, I'm a VP of a chapter of the Women's Federation. We have the women's groups. We have the young Republicans, the college Republicans. We have the LGBTQ. So there are groups for everyone. And I will link the BPOU and the affiliates YouTube that I have to explain how to find those. Okay? But my last how. All right, I hear you, Jenna, that you gave me the whys. I heard some of these hows. My last how, that's more of a tip than anything, is stay positive. It can be so hard. And for any of my peers or people here in Minnesota, this has been rather difficult this last year, or this last 6 months, I even can say, because number one, the election didn't go as well as the Republican side had hoped. But in addition to that, in Minnesota, the DFL has a trifecta. They have power in every which way. So pretty much anything they say is going right now. And that is incredibly defeating for the other side. So staying positive is easier said than done right now. But it is so important to try to pull whatever bits and pieces of silver lining you can, because staying optimistic is going to help you actually stay more focused and focused on solutions rather than just the problems and the issues and the bitching and the moaning, right? It's important to stay hopeful, because if you're hopeful, there's more of a reason, more of a motivation to actually stay engaged. If you're completely hopeless, why the fuck would I stay engaged, right? So even during difficult times, try to find that hope. And for my faith friends out there, and I know some people out there, oh, that's so corny. We know who wins in the end. All right. So I talked about the why and the how. Busting down some of those very common excuses or reasons as to why I can't do it. So first one that, I've heard myself, but I think just across the board, right, is time. I don't have enough time to keep up with the current events or to get involved. Okay, really? I get it. That is the top excuse for everything. I hear that in my health and wellness business on the regular. But in truth, staying informed about the current events and the current politics that are happening. It really doesn't have to take a lot of time. I'm not the most educated out there. I will put that out there because I literally give myself like 10 minutes a day to check up on the news. And I don't go just turn on channel 4 or 11, or I read through a few articles. And right now I give myself grace and say that's the best I can do right now because that's all I seriously have time for. But I'm doing what I can, 10 minutes, okay? You can also, find some podcasts, throw those in your earbuds when you're driving or when you're cleaning the house or when you're folding laundry. You can also, if you are a person that gets a lunch break, utilize that time and stop just chit-chatting, right? Put that time to good use. The next common excuse. Politics? Are you kidding me? I do not understand that. That's a complicated mess. And truth be told, I really don't even want to try to understand it. I hear you. Over and over and over. I hear you. Like, I think that is why I truthfully never wanted to get involved. Because, my dad got it. I don't need to. My dad does. That was me. And I think it was because I was kind of fearing how complicated it actually was. And I will be transparent. There are pieces that I'm still like, I don't get it. And there's some things that have been explained to me more than once, and I'm still like, yeah, I'm just gonna call that a loss for right now. I'm okay not fully understanding. But yes, it can be complicated. It can be complex, but it's essential to try to understand at least the basic pieces so that you can be an educated citizen, but also so that you can be doing what's possible to protect your family and their future. This comes down to, spending that 10 minutes a day reading some articles or listening to those podcasts. And then also, as you're building that tribe out, start to pick their brains and ask them questions. Yes, I read the news articles and all that jazz, but I have learned more from my political tribe than I've ever read or heard in a podcast. Picking their brains, the people that have been around for a while, is an important skill. And it's something that can truthfully make this thing that's kind of scary for many of us in the beginning much, much easier. Excuse 3. I have no idea who to vote for or what policies to support. Well, my friend, do your research. You're not going to know who to vote for. You're not going to know what things you stand for if you don't spend some time looking it up. Just like you didn't really know which lipstick formula you really were going to do best with, or which skincare product was going to be best for you, or what lotion I should get my baby. But you spent time doing a little research. If all that is important, how about paying a little attention to the people that are going to make the laws and the rules that not only are for you, but for your children as well? Excuse 4. I'm just not interested in politics at all. All right. You don't need to be completely interested, but you do need to understand. Okay, it's not my favorite, but I can't have blinders on. I need to pay attention a little bit because, yes, she's right. It does impact me, and it impacts my family and their future. If something is going to impact your kids, it does deserve a little attention, even if it's not the most exciting. Do you think brushing your teeth is really freaking exciting? Nope. But you do it. Or, good gracious, I hope you do it, right? Because you don't want bad breath. Well, if you don't want a bad future for your kids, start to pay attention. Excuse 5. I really just don't think my vote counts. Every vote matters. And even if your preferred person or your preferred policy doesn't win, you voting, you speaking up, it does send a message. And it can influence things, maybe not in the here and now, but the hope is even in the future. And for my people that are on the GOP side, this is something we all need to be remembering right now, especially here in Minnesota, right? It may not be happening right now as we want and we hope, but let's just keep our prayers strong and pray that, okay, it will impact things down the road. The next one, the next excuse. I'm too busy taking care of my family to get involved in politics. I hear ya, 100%. I have one of the neediest 3-year-olds on the planet. I swear to you, I love her more than anything. I could give her sun up to sundown every day, and she still would be screaming at me I didn't play princesses with her enough. I have to cut away sometimes because, no, I do need to give time to politics because, sweet girl, this is going to impact you down the road. I want to make sure you have a solid education. I want to make sure you have a state that's safe to live in. So yes, I do cut some time out now, but it will impact her in the future in a better way. That is the hope. Excuse 7. I don't have political connections in my life or influence abilities. Number 1, you don't need to be an insider, right? I came out of nothingness. I knew no one. Well, I lie. I knew a representative from my hometown that got me to take my first step attending my BPOU. So I did know someone, but beyond that, I knew no one. And in these 3 years, I have built a solid tribe, right? I've really gotten into the thick of it, but I built that from scratch. So please know that you don't have to have a solid surrounding before you even take that first step. Reach out to one person. It could be me. I don't care. Reach out to me. But you don't already need a solid tribe. The next one. I don't want to offend anyone with my views. Okay, number 1, I think this is just kind of a thought that's across the board for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. I will be honest, it drives me bananas. I have been told for years, since I was a little kid, that sometimes I'm too blunt with my opinion. So this one has just never been one that really sticks to me too much anyway. But it is important to also say, I brought this up a couple minutes back. You can engage and be respectful, and that's actually encouraged. You catch more flies with honey, right? But it is 1,000% possible to engage respectfully and to have open conversations with people that differ in opinion from you. I will be honest, one of my core friends, I have 4 friends that are like my ride or dies. 3 very much agree with me on most viewpoints. 1, we disagree on more than we agree on. And we're okay with that. We had a moment where we were like, oh goodness, is this going to be possible? And it is. We literally sat across from a table, we kind of poured our hearts out, and we just had that civil conversation of, I don't exactly agree, but I see where you're coming from and I respect your heart. So it is possible to be involved and not have to turn people off because of your viewpoints. The next one, I'm not sure where or how to start. All right, sweetheart, you need to rewind because I just gave you a ton of tips. But that first step to get involved, I will recommend, and yeah, maybe I'm, leaning this way because this was my first step. But if you're sitting here and you're like, yeah, I am a Republican, find your local BPOU meeting. That is a great first step. If you're like, I really don't care about Republican, Democrat, my heart is 100% about the schools, go to your local school board meeting. Start to pay attention. Those are 2 great first steps. And number 10, I am too anxious or overwhelmed by the state of the world and the political situation to get involved. I get it. It is incredibly overwhelming. Incredibly. And I think it's only gotten worse these last couple years. So having those feelings, first and foremost, let yourself feel that. Be like, well, I think it's normal. I should actually feel this way. But then also being like, okay, I need to if you're a guy, I need to grow a set, or, pull up your big girl panties and be like, I just got to do this. This, the why behind it is bigger than my fear. Start to build that tribe right away as much as possible, because that's going to help combat this reason, this excuse, faster. Because overall, I just went over 10, I believe, different excuses. You could probably create me a list of 50 or 100. There's always going to be reasons and excuses to not engage and to not be aware of what's going on. But it's important to recognize that it all affects all of us and our kids and their future kids. So it's going to be crucial to stay informed if we want to ensure that they have a brighter future. Finding ways to get involved that fit your schedule, that fit your values, and can help you feel more connected with a community that just gets you. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Mama, I asked you to lend me your ear, and you did. And I appreciate that so much. And I hope now you're sitting there and you're like, dude, she was right. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling ready to take that first step. Even if it's shaky as all get out, right? Take that step shaking away. I think some of the best first steps, we are shaking. But remember, you do not need to have all the answers or be a political know-it-all to make a difference. I still am far from a know-it-all. I do not know a fraction of what's really out there. But as moms, we have a very unique opportunity to advocate for our kids. And remember, their kids and their kids and their kids. That list will go on, and what you do will impact. So, my question is, what are you waiting for? It is time to make your voice heard. Your kids deserve it, and so does your community, because you got a powerful voice. I can guarantee it. Remember that every small action can make a difference. For funsies, like I said, I'm going to link a couple videos below. The BPOU one, the affiliate one. Cruise around that YouTube channel. It has some frequently asked questions types of videos in there. But it will be a great first step for you to start to dive in. Thank you again for listening. And remember, as moms, we have the power to make a positive impact with our families, with their future families, with our communities, and much, much further beyond that. We need to stop underestimating our power. So let's do this together. I look forward to hopefully seeing you at an event soon or hearing about the events you're attending. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Don't forget to check the show notes to get in touch with the How Marketing Company for your marketing needs. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dicks. Remember, if you are battling an addiction, reach out for help and support. There are many resources available to assist in your journey towards recovery. Surround yourself with a supportive community and never give up on the path towards a healthier and happier life. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and joining me on this journey. As you heard, I'm always rambling. But seriously, thank you for your support and make sure to subscribe and follow my channel. I can't wait to share more with you on the next episode. Until then, keep on rambling. If you have found this podcast helpful and want to dive deeper into personal growth and self-improvement, be sure to head over to my website, jennadicks.com. You'll find a wealth of resources there. There is a little less drugs, sex, and rock and roll these days, but whether you're interested in getting healthy, information on momming or parenting, or politics, jennadicks.com has something for everyone. So, what are you waiting for? Head to jennadicks.com today and start your journey towards personal growth and self-awareness. See you there.